Hey, this is my last track guide for the round of 3 map pack in TMT. The map is TmT-Cachaça, which I might mispronounce, and it's made by NRJ. The current world record is 42.35 by MineTurtle, and my best time is 42.38. As usual, I try to go through the replay slowly and in detail to explain what I'm doing to drive fast, and also maybe give some tips on how to drive safer. Then after that, I will play the replay normally as well. Alright, here is the replay. So the track starts off with a steep downhill that you want to make sure that you make a quick zigzag movement over to keep your grip. And after that, you immediately want to steer to the right for the next turn. Then we have a downhill followed by a hard turn to the right. Now position yourself a bit to the left here and then start to drift. And you can choose to drive over the border here, which I did, or you can take a bit of a safer route and drive around it instead. And then just try to take as short of a path as you can and drive as much to the right here through it. Now for this next turn here, we have a very steep turn to the right. And here you want to make sure that you keep your grip on the road through the whole turn and go as much to the right as you can. You do that by starting your drift early before the downhill begins, and then hold in your brake as you go down and keep your grip this way. Then in the middle of the downhill, release your brake and try to go full speed through this turn. You can easily go too wide here, as it's hard to time it perfectly, and in that case just tap the gas as you see fit to avoid going too wide. Alright, following that we have a small transition here and then a long turn to the left. This turn you can do full speed as long as you have the right line for the turn as you go over the transition here. If you go too wide you can risk hitting the quarter pipe, which is coming up here to the right. That would of course be a huge crash. So if you feel like you're going a bit too wide here, you can tap the gas slightly. You can also choose to start a small drift as you go over the road from the transition if you want to save the turn. Alright, then we have another small transition followed by an early uphill drift to the left. As often before, land into a natural drift as you go over the transition and then start drifting a bit later and try to time it so that you go through this turn with a lot of speed, since we have a pretty long stretch after it. Also make sure not to go too wide as you can then lose your grip in this upcoming downhill here. Now if you have a lot of speed here, you can take this jump into a turn to the left combination with full speed. So as you go over the jump, steer a bit to the left to land into a drift, and also don't brake in the air to straighten yourself up. That way you will land on your front wheels and you can extend your drift a bit more that way. If done perfectly, you can take this whole turn, this whole left turn with full speed. But if not, then you have to adjust your line by drifting as soon as you land on the road. Coming up next is a very long downhill turn to the right. Here you have to extend your drift for a very long time, and you need to start your drift before the downhill begins to avoid getting a no drift. Then as you go through the turn, tap the brake to extend the drift and try to position yourself a lot to the left, since the turn coming up here is pretty tight, also following is a downhill. So try release the drift at the right moment and then just keep your grip in this downhill here. Now we will go to a transition over a platform, beginning with a small jump. Again, wait a bit before you start your drift, and as you can see, you can cut a bit of the road here with your inner wheels, but it's pretty risky, so make sure that you don't go too close to it, as you will then crash very hard. Then just tap the brake to make the drift longer and try to time it so that you don't get too close to the gap here on the left and also not too close to the wall on the right here. You need to position yourself quite a lot to the left because we have an immediate turn to the right coming up. So as soon as you pass a turn here, there's a small jump and you need to turn to the right so that you land into a drift. So turn right here just before the small jump. Then as you land, just brake to extend the drift and try to go a bit wide here through this turn to keep your grip, as we have a small downhill ahead of us. It's important that you take this turn with a lot of speed, as otherwise you risk getting a slowdown, which would make you lose a lot of time. Alright, then we have a transition followed by the last turn of the track. Here you want to build up as much speed as you can, since the ending is just a long straight into the finish. I actually lost quite some time here, since I went way too close to the wall and didn't build up that much speed. So try to go a bit wider here and start to drift as you go over the road. And then when you pass this turn, quickly turn to the right to take the boost and then go straight into the finish. Alright, that concludes my track guide for TmT-Cachaça. Again, I might be mispronouncing that, but I hope I'm close enough. I also hope I could help you learn this track a bit more with this guide, and now here's the normal replay as well. Thanks for watching.